more were injured and taken to hospitals. But our question seems more like a punchline. Contra los inmigrantes y contra los mexicanos. The facility can currently house 500 people, but there are plans to expand it to serve 500 more. The majority of the fish that we see in this area are these little bait fish. That was well after the territory that it sits upon transferred hands from Mexico to the United States. But there's a big difference in these numbers. In UISD, of these 3,000, about 58% were considered economically disadvantaged. But in 2009, we can tell that both of them saw a decrease. That was due to the recession, and since then, we've been growing. A few months ago, we received a tip that there was a house with a high number of people registered to vote. We looked into it and found that several houses in that precinct matched that description. So we expanded the investigation, and that led us on this journey, a voter roll call. Hundreds of pages with 123,004 registered voters,
Maria Rubio,
led us all over town.
Alan Rutter, Jessica Rutter.
Because when you go to vote, you're going to see it again. It's used to keep track of voters, where they live, how old they are. But what if that list is wrong when it comes to you?
Todas estas personas son absolutamente desconocidas para mí.
San Juana Rangel is remembering all the birth years
54, 56, 58,
of her children.
59, 60, 61.
She's trying to match any of the birth dates of the people I'm reading to her.
Maria Rubio, Alan Rutter, Jessica
But she can't.
Romelia Rutter.
No.
This is a problem because according to the county, these people have claimed this address, her address, as their own, all 16 of them. Rangel says that at least in her case, the information the county has is wrong.
Están dando una dirección falsa.
But this is just one of 71 houses on the registry with anywhere from 10 to 22 people registered under one roof. But are all of these a mistake too? We kept asking.
Hi. You do? Oh, okay, good.
In this home, 12 people are registered.
Does that strike you as being too many?
It doesn't come as a surprise to owners Irene and Juan Hernandez.
I got 5 kids.
5 kids?
My youngest is 22.
Okay.
She uses this address, the other 4 use this address, and then me and her, and then my sister-in-law.
Okay.
Her last name is McCraw.
Oh.
So, you know, but yeah, that's about right, 12 or maybe more.
This is possible because the law allows people to claim a residence where they intend to return after a temporary absence, like for college. But for Rangel, those 16 unknown names are 16 possibilities for trouble.
¿Qué tal si un hombre de esos lo trae la ley y viene y me rodea la casa de policías o de lo que sea? Pues primeramente me voy a asustar.
Fear is just one emotion voters experience when confronted with irregularities on this list.
We were looking for Jose Barraza.
Some are confused.
Okay, well, that's my brother, but he doesn't live here. He lives right in the south.
Oh, does he live on Masterson Road?
I think so.
In this address, the county has a man listed here and in another home in South Laredo with the same name but a different birthday.
And 2216 Baltimore? No. Nobody.
His sister tries to explain that he does live in one of these addresses, but can't explain why there's 2. Her brother is just one of 78 registered voters who have a unique voter ID or a VUID come up twice on the list. The county has him listed either with a different name, address, precinct, and or date of birth, but they're sharing something that's supposed to be unique. And that could affect if they get to vote or even how many times they get to submit a ballot legally. But another question surfaces from this interview.
And it says that their birthday is 1901.
Could we have stumbled upon one of the oldest registered voters in the county? He doesn't think so. We try again and again.
Do you know if they house any elderly people?
But our question seems more like a punchline. Maybe it's because we're looking for at least one of the 772 people on the list that have a birthday of January 1st of 1901. So just where are all these 115-year-olds living?
They're not answering, but I know they're home.
According to the elections administrator Oscar Villarreal, there may not be any. We asked him for an interview, but it wasn't granted. We did get an email though. It turns out that birth date is a placeholder. Under an old voter registration system, some had not provided that information. The Secretary of State spokesperson Alicia Pierce confirmed similar situations have happened across Texas. And since then, counties have been sending letters requesting this missing data. But yet, sitting on the list, there are still hundreds of names years later with this placeholder. It's just one of the many questions unanswered, casting doubt on the process that's going to be tested tomorrow. We have asked the county to provide us with more information on these irregularities that we've discovered through a 2-week investigation of the data the Elections Office provided us. Our request for an interview sent last week has not yet been answered. However, the Secretary of State's office spokesperson says they are interested in hearing their reply to, specifically, on the duplicate votes. At 11:55 p.m., police rushed to the 500 block of Houston Street. A man is threatening suicide. A weapon is involved, so police saturate the area. Across the street, 2 teens see it all unfold. 11:58, a police officer spots them, walks up, aiming a rifle at them. Another officer rushes from behind and pepper sprays the teens. One of them falls, but the second stumbles as he's struck by a baton repeatedly. The second officer kicks him, and he falls. The mother of the struck teen files a complaint, and an investigation is carried out. Although Chief Ray Garner was not chief at that time, he says the officer was punished.
I do know that he received a 15-day suspension, and I do know that the Department of Justice looked into it. And once, my understanding is that DOJ was satisfied with the 15-day suspension.
Then Chief Carlos Maldonado signed that letter, but Chief Garner explains that police chiefs don't act alone.
After the investigation's over with, and it goes to the DRB, which is Disciplinary Review Board, all this is brought out in that board, and then it's brought over to me, and then again, I look at the facts of the case, and then I look at the history of the officer.
The officer's history has 16 overall complaints, but upon closer inspection of the complaint that yielded this suspension, it states the officer reported the teen approached the scene, yelled obscenities, and swung at him. But that's not what happened. The final report states the video recording does not show any physically aggressive action, no motion to approach 518 Houston Street, and no physical interference with you or any officer by either teen. It went on. Further, your report of the incident that deviates so greatly from the evidence demonstrates your refusal to be held accountable and your lack of veracity. Under the previous administration, this officer was allowed to keep his badge.
It can lead to suspension or even termination almost immediately.
Chief Garner says they keep a close watch on officers, but had this happened under him, he tells KGNS he would have recommended termination. Now, this same officer is facing a federal investigation. Chief Garner says the FBI and the Department of Justice, along with their Internal Affairs Department, is looking at a May incident where this officer is alleged to have struck a man who was detained. For now, the officer has been reassigned to administrative duties where he cannot enforce the law and doesn't wear a uniform. If found guilty, the officer would face federal charges. A quiet refuge, a place whose books are as diverse as those checking them out.
I've been coming to the library now a few years now.
I'm getting college books, like the study guide. I like a lot of fiction.
Public libraries are rich in text and context. Some visit for its modern conveniences.
I'm here because I need to send some information.
I usually do emails.
And thousands of people still enjoy exploring its traditional stacks.
Mostly books. I don't take out any games or anything. Whatever can help me study.
But after checking them out, some of us forget about the due date. That leads to late fees.
That was like $30 or something.
Like $5.
A book up to 1 week late doesn't acquire fees. It's after the grace period that you're charged 35 cents per book. For DVDs or video games, you'll have to pay $1. Keep it longer, and it adds up. I, too, have a debt sitting, waiting to be paid since 2012. It's over $40. But no, I don't hold the record. These two people owe over $2,000 each. In fact, since 2002, fees have been accumulating collectively. The swollen debt is exceeding $1,063,000.
In Laredo, wow, that's amazing.
That's a lot of money.
The city is aware of this debt. They're trying different strategies to bring it down, like amnesty periods.
But we found out that it really was not helpful at all.
Items past 3 weeks due are considered lost. There are 67,765 recorded items lost, but amnesty did little to reduce that.
We got too few of those.
Strategy failed.
And then we'd find people would be keeping the books, waiting for that time to come in.
In 2005-2006, the library hit their highest recorded total, over $112,600. Trying a new strategy, the library began restricting access.
So if you have a fine or a fee on it, you will not be able to access them.
So if you owe a fee, you aren't able to check out more books, media, or use the computers. It's a method that appears to be working. In the next year, 2006-2007, the total went down by 42,000, and since then it hasn't gone up 85,000 in total fees and lost items. But what about the current total? The library has considered more aggressive methods like collection agencies.
In the past, we have brought it up before past city administration, and they opted not to go with that because that would affect people's credit.
Instead, they are entertaining the idea of sending text messages as reminders, but currently they may only be sent after they're late. For now, if you can, settle up. The money owed goes toward the city's general fund.
That money, you can even improve, the facilities, or have more, books, or give, more services.
And if you're a repeating offender, just remember, you can always use these overnight book depositories, opt for self-expiring ebooks, or just remember how your lost or late book could affect the research, business, or life of someone else. I'm Valerie Gonzalez.